What's going on, everybody? Brad Jost here with another video on the Jurassic Park Podcast YouTube channel. Today, we are discussing full spoilers for Season 3 of Jurassic World. Chaos Theory, myself, and Tom Jurassic had the chance to watch the season early, so we prepared a full podcast episode with all the spoilers, discussing everything we could think of. So if you have not seen Season 3 yet, please head over to Netflix right now and watch the entire show. It's 10 episodes. They're about 20-something minutes each. Go watch all 10 episodes, then come back to this video. I don't want you to spoil anything from the season, so please go check it out before you watch this video. If you've seen the show, then enjoy. I hope you like this episode. It's myself, Tom Jurassic, full spoilers. All right, your warnings are over. This is full spoilers. Enjoy. Welcome back, everybody, to the Jurassic Park Podcast. Today, we are going to be discussing spoilers for Season 3 of Jurassic World Chaos Theory. I've got Tom here to discuss those spoilers with me. But as always, a huge thank you to DreamWorks and Netflix and everybody at Universal, everybody for letting us get the chance to watch this show early so we could produce this content here for you ahead of time and release it on release day and the embargo days and things like that. So thank you so much to everybody for letting us have that chance again. It's going to be a fun conversation, I think, today, Tom. I'm really looking forward to this one. We did our spoiler-free conversation. And as always, I'm always just like itching to talk about those details. Because despite what you had said, you did not go and watch the entire season just again before in between our conversations, but we are
as if these are back to back.
Yeah, we are doing this back to back, and we have our notes. We're ready to go, so we've got a lot to talk about. And what do you think? All right, actually, no. I'm gonna go here first. I want to talk about one of the biggest moments, I guess, of the season is basically at the end. And I want to start with, we're just going to get into it. So again, if you've not seen this season, back out now. We are going to be discussing full spoilers for the season, jumping all the way to the end. So please back out if you have not seen it. Do not spoil anything from this show. All right. So now that the warnings are out of the way officially, I want to jump all the way to the end of the show and just talk quickly
The return of Brad X.
Yes, I made it back this season. No, the handler. I want to talk about the handler, Micro Bangs, whoever. Yeah, there's a lot of Bangs references this season, but the handler is back again. We didn't see her at all last season, right? I don't know. Maybe she popped in a little bit or something.
An episode, but that would have been.
Yeah, but I don't remember if there was anything. Okay, I don't know. I forget completely. But this season, back in a huge way, and unfortunately, dead. Eaten, as far as I can tell. I think that's a good death scene. Eaten by Carnotaurus there, and we saw the whistle fall to the ground. And the one of the biggest parts of that moment was, though, that she talked. Yeah, she talked. Well, now we did get some. Stop. And it was her first like audible talking, but there was like a little moment at the very beginning of the season too, which she was whispering. Yeah, she was whispering to the person at the college. I forget his name, but and that was actually a very cool tactic I enjoyed from that character this season. Was not only was it, I'm gonna sick these raptors on you and kill you. It's intimidation, and there's different tactics that she's being utilized and being used in order to fulfill Biosyn's needs in a lot of ways, or Soyana Santos' needs. And in this case, she used intimidation to change somebody's mind. It's like a very typical thing that we see in movies and TV shows that the counselor or the whoever they're changing their minds. He was a professor. There was a counselor at some point during this season who who actually was just killed. Like literally, they
Yeah.
didn't intimidate that person. They're like, nah, that person's gone. And that was I don't have. Do I have my note? I don't know where that was in the season, but there was interesting like person, the counselor that they like killed off.
So the
And
counselor was really interesting because the counselor was putting restrictions on what Biosyn could do with Biosyn Valley. So it was the counselor for that region, which
yeah,
was quite interesting.
Dodgson had said, still having issues securing that land permit. The valley's local regional counselor wants to get or keeps getting in the way. So I want you to send your handler to dot dot dot.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that was an interesting quote because that was in episode 3, the Queen's Court, and
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. Like at that point, I was like, okay, what is our timeline here? Because
Mm.
where are we? With the intimidation of that first guy about securing like Biosyn's rights to use all these dinosaurs
Mm.
and move them around. So that happened like at the very beginning. And then also this happens about the valley's like local region, whatever, and securing the permits. I
Mm.
was like, what is our timeline? Does Biosyn Valley exist? Like what's happening here?
Yeah.
So
It was an interesting one. I guess in my mindset I think that the valley already existed, but I wouldn't be surprised if the permits were to expand it because obviously they got the collection rights. And we see that in Dominion as well. So I imagine they then would have applied to expand their facility to house even more dinosaurs. Because, I mean, we know it's been there for a while because the mine was open in the 90s. So they had at least that portion of the facility. Um,
yeah.
I get the sense that they were like building a larger operation.
Yeah, it could have been that they had this entire facility and maybe no dinosaurs there at that point or
Yeah.
something, or and because there was the part where the professor as well, who Professor Desai, that was his
Yeah.
name. Luckily, his name was right there when I looked at my notes. He also didn't like what the DPW was doing either. I think there was something about
No.
that.
Yes.
So we at least know that before this season, like the DPW is obviously doing their thing. We've seen a little bit of that throughout the first 2 seasons, and there's people against that. So they were already collecting dinosaurs. So it's just a matter of like, I guess we have to ship these dinosaurs to that location. But
Yeah.
these are just the random
It's
thoughts
quite
that are going through our heads. This is not really part
no.
of the season per se, but it was just like kind of in my mind when they mentioned these little moments.
But it builds up a really interesting narrative because I'll kind of spoil this a little bit just because I feel
This is a
like
spoiler episode,
no,
so
no, 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 no. This is I'm about to spoil something with Tails. So this is
ooh.
Chaos Theory season 3 is kind of going in the direction of Dodgson knew a lot of things, and he was involved in a lot of dodgy dealings. I kind of always interpreted it as was he involved in a lot apart from Hexapod allies. So in Chaos season 3, there's a whole thing about King doing stuff without Dodgson knowing, basically. But I like how this season the official canon is the idea that actually Dodgson was dabbling with all of these things. He knew what was going on in all of these places, and he was actually up to some quite shady stuff. And I really like that. I like the idea that in Dominion, especially, it's very easy to say, well, how did this biogenetics company that hasn't been seen since Jurassic Park suddenly get sole collection rights for these dinosaurs? And then you find, well, of course they did, because they had a hit person with Atrociraptors who would basically kill people who didn't let them get that. So it kind of paints the picture of actually, although Biosyn present themselves, especially in Dominion, as whiter than white, and this kind of almost savior company that's coming to defend, like pick up the dinosaurs and deal with it, it does show you that that whole business model is founded on shady dealings, which is
Mhm.
cool to see because that's a lot more of the character of Dodgson I think we get in the Lost World novel, especially in terms of like his I think it's either The Lost World or it's the original Jurassic Park novel where they introduce him and they talk about some of the shady experiments he was doing and things. That has always been his kind of character, so it's cool to see shades of that coming out in the way he's depicted in this season. And I think these two small details, although they are small, they do really help to flesh out that character and the wider impact that Biosyn is having on that world.
Yeah, and I really loved his characterization here in this show, Dodgson. It was perfect. It was like the perfect, capturing of what we saw in Jurassic World Dominion. I thought they really brought that character to life again, very well. I was trying to remember how he was portrayed a little bit in the in Camp Cretaceous, but this was like spot on. At that point, did we see Dominion? I forget. I think we must have, right?
I think we had, yeah.
Yeah. But
yeah, because I remember at the time the discussion about it not being Campbell Scott coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just thought the interpretation was great here. He's very much like on his phone the entire time, like doing these deals. He's very like callous about everything. He just doesn't care. He's like brushes everything aside. And like you're saying about these terrible things that he's having done, he doesn't even care. Like it's not even like a second thought to him. He's very like sinister in that way where it's not like he's like, I'm going to kill everybody who wants to oppose me. He is like in his mind somewhere, but like but he's also just like, yeah, we're just gonna have that person, we're just gonna have that person killed off, okay? He just doesn't care. He's just callous about the whole thing. So I loved his portrayal this season.
I think what I'd like to touch on as well that I found really interesting was the fact that so this season, as we knew from the trailer, does dive into the amberclave black market. And I said to you, I love the fact that the black market actually gets that official name. Dodgson calls it. But what he reveals as well is the idea that Biosyn actually owned the market. And during the events of Dominion, they were in the process of handing it over to Soyana Santos. So this idea that actually Biosyn wanted to have a clean corporate image, so they'd be working with Santos, they'd give her all the resources to do things, but they'd then step away from it and let her run it to kind of give them some degree of anonymity. I just thought that was such a cool idea, like, because again, this black market, this is something that you could easily see Dodgson setting up in the early 2000s, right? Like maybe he's poaching a dinosaur from Jurassic World here or there. Maybe he's been on a mission to Isla Sorna, and he's just getting those animals and trading them off through this underground network. And then suddenly, when the Lockwood Manor incident happens, that underground network explodes, and he's like, right, this is too big for me now. I need to step aside from this and hand it over to somebody else. Like, I just feel like actually there's a lot that they could do to even build out that backstory further. That's really cool because it kind of, again, gives you a sense of actually what Biosyn were doing in the build up to Dominion. Because I think that's the biggest issue I have with Dominion is that we get Biosyn very quickly and then they're gone and you don't spend that much time with them. Whereas this really feels like it's building up more of the mythology around that biogenetics company, and actually what they've been doing while all of us as fans have basically seen this franchise through the lens of InGen up until this point.
Yeah. Maybe we'll come back to some of the characters and stuff, but I speaking of like what they've been doing and everything, they have, I like that they used Malta as their like, kind of base of operations during most of the season. And it was like, already the market is underground, right? It's an underground, like, kind of situation, but I like that they're like, let's go more underground and like let's go under the underground, and that's why we've never seen the underground. And I
it's
thought that
cool
was just a nice way, to hide it.
Yeah, there's a line as well that says that it's the catacombs, and I just thought that was really cool because ultimately, what is this whole franchise built on? Bones. So I feel like that's quite a cool little piece of synergy as well. Yeah. There was something I was gonna say around the iconography that I thought was quite interesting. I'm trying to think about what it was. There was something around what we were talking about.
Oh, earlier?
Yeah. It's gone.
Well, I
It'll come
know.
back to me. I just think
Yeah.
there's a lot of interesting symbolism in this season as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned the naming of the market and everything.
Mm.
Stephen Ray Morris had sent me a text with a picture. You remember that, like, the Dino Fight like sign or whatever that came out a few
Yeah.
years ago? It was like that came out like before Dominion, and everybody got like so hyped to see this this
Yeah.
sign. I think it had like the Allosaurus on it or something, and it actually says like the Amberclave. I think it says Night Market, and I think it
Yeah.
named slightly different here or something. But let me see, Amber Clave Underground Market in the show, but on that poster thing, I think it said Night Market. Either way, I was very excited to see that Amberclave, naming convention there show up too, because they don't say anything about that in the movie itself. So, yeah, but that was cool. But yeah, the everything happening on Malta. We've got a brand new location that pops up on Malta that we had talked about, where the handler died, actually. This massive like Colosseum type structure that's like up in the hills, and I thought that was a really cool way to expand the island a little bit, give it some cool vibes. There was that I forgot what the I think I titled it. I put it here in the title. It's the Moratori te salutant. I'm not speaking Latin very well, but it's a Latin phrase that means those who are about to die salute you, famously associated with Roman gladiators saluting the emperor before an event. So I thought that was the name of the episode 10. And
That's cool.
yeah, and the fact that it took place like in this Coliseum with like
Yeah.
a fight, there's a fight happening with the dinosaurs, and there's deaths in this Coliseum. It was like really cool to see that kind of arena, stage set here.
Dude,
for
the
episode
thing I
10.
found, like, again, a small detail, but you get a sense for how technologically advanced Biosyn are, because that was the Tony Stark helicopter. It was a self-flying helicopter. So, they don't call it a helicopter; they call it a drone.
It was a drone, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that they were taking their shots. I think this season there was like a comment about, of course, Biosyn would have self-driving cars.
Yeah.
So I had laughed about that. That was funny. Oh, there was a comment. Let me see if I can find it. I write down everything that I find funny and some interesting quotes. So there was like Ben was like trying to do something on his phone, and they were trying to like collect data on him, and he's like, "Nice try, big phone." And I was like,
Yeah.
just cracking up about his commenting on the big phone companies.
Yeah.
Like, nice try. So I thought they were trying to throw some shade here and there, and it was funny. But yeah, it's a lot. It's got a lot of really good elements. It's a funny series. It's intense. Yeah. It's got a lot of cool dynamics.
I've remembered the symbolism.
You remembered it.
The
Good.
thing I was going to talk about is that that final battle sequence. Okay, so let's just dive straight into it since you've touched on it, which is the idea that Soyana and the handler are basically fighting to get control of the Atrociraptors. The handler is able to get control of them, and then at the end, Soyana throws us the curveball of, "Oh, I've also trained the demon Carnotaurus." And that, for me, we can come on to more detail about that sequence. But the thing I was sat thinking there was, this is such a pertinent conversation in terms of classic approaches coming up against technology. And the idea that in that scene, the handler has got this traditional approach to looking after these animals, and Soyana has got this modern technological approach with the laser, and ultimately it's the technology that wins out, but that's not necessarily the good ending, and somebody gets hurt as a result of that. And I just thought that was quite a cool piece of symbolism for, I think, where we are as a society right now in terms of a lot of the discussion around our relationship with AI. It just felt like a really timely inclusion to sort of see that classic approach up against the technological one.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite scene, like in the series, because or in the show, because it was a really cool like juxtaposition, like you're saying, against this technological version and bringing in the bigger bad, Carnotaurs, which is like, yeah, you can't really beat that. Like personally, she tried. She said stop, and at one point I'm like, oh, did that work? Did she stop the Carnotaurs? No,
she tried the Owen Grady hand.
She did.
I do feel like there was a meta joke there as well about the idea that the hands always work, and here it.
And I mean, look, they did that joke in Jurassic World itself, like with Wilson Fisk. They do it here again, but what I like was before that, when you were talking about the more the manual approach from the handler, that was awesome. Like I loved watching that, because she took Red and completely switched her, like she's the Indominus Rex in this situation. She,
it made me wonder.
That was so cool.
It really made me wonder, are they alluding to the idea that she is part raptor, like people were talking about?
No,
because I feel like there was just something not right about her, and you never get to the bottom of it. But it kind of, like you say, the similarity with the Indominus and the way she behaved, I was kind of like, is there something here?
No, I think that what I'm getting is that, the Atrociraptor's got a new alpha. And she's the alpha in that situation. She's not taking any other, stuff. She's literally like booping the nose and like hitting the chin and like moving the dinosaur around and not taking anything from them. And it's just like, you're going to do what I want you to do. And then you're going to turn on your owner. So I thought that was really, really cool, using these like training tactics like Owen would have done or something. But Owen wasn't as fearless as the handler is. The handler is like the ultimate, like this is the person that's going into the crocodile pit and like wrestling a crocodile, or like the snake trainer who just has no fear of snakes and just lets them bite him. Like this person
there's that
just
whole
doesn't
thing
care.
there, isn't there? Yeah, about the fact that actually your fearlessness is probably the thing that gets you killed, and in this situation, it quite literally is the thing that gets her killed.
Yeah. But in my mind, like she won, like she beat Soyuna Santos. She just had like a rare ace, like up her sleeve that like you could not expect, and that scene could have gone any way, but like it was a pretty intense scene. And dude, when Ghost died, I was heartbroken.
I think, didn't I message you and I was like, well, Mattel chose the wrong figure to make as the first Hammond collection Atrociraptor. But yeah, I didn't see that. I mean, I kind of guess it's symbolic of the breaking of the relationship with Soyana, because Ghost was the Atrociraptor that was used in all of the promotion for Dominion. So it kind of makes sense for Ghost to be the one that dies. But it was a bit like, oh boy, what's happened here? But the thing I also find interesting is the fact that actually those other 3 Atrociraptors are still out there.
Yeah, they just run off. They're still on Malta with a ton of other dinosaurs that, seemingly the French intelligence are probably going to wrangle up, and what are they going to do with them? Because Biosyn goes down pretty quickly after this, so what's going to happen there?
Although there is the reformed version of Sanctuary at the very end of the film, so maybe we're going to see that.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Because I have a theory on that, which we will come to.
Oh, okay. I was going to say something else about, the Atrociraptors. Yeah, dude, speaking of the next season, like, there is a line that, like, Soyuna Santos says, like, oh, Biosyn's got more trained Atrociraptors.
She's
so
like,
when we go there, we'll pick up some more.
Animals we trained?
Yeah. I was like, whoa, dude, that's crazy. So I was running low on questions the other day when I was talking to Scott. I had the chance. I had it written down. I'm like, I got to ask this question about that. Like, are we going to maybe see other Atrociraptors? Because you made that illusion. Like, I want to see them. We never saw them in Dominion.
Yeah.
That was it. That was, and Scott, please do this. Write it in draw it, do all that. I know you probably, if it's not in the show, do it now. But the sequence I've always wanted, which I had talked about for Dominion, was like I knew the Atrociraptors were in that movie. I didn't know that they wouldn't be like, we wouldn't be seeing them in Biosyn Valley or anything. So I had wanted Grant to do the whole poison the egg thing and kill the Atrociraptors with the poison eggs from the novel.
That would be cool, yeah.
Dude, let Darius do it. Let somebody do it.
Grant could have done that with Beta, right?
How dare you? What? Yeah, but no, he did not do that.
Roll across an egg in the water room that they find her in, and it's perfect.
Yeah, she always got to carry. You've got a dead dinosaur on your back.
Yeah.
Why? But yeah, I thought that everything happening in Malta was awesome. Getting the direct ties to the scenes that we know from Jurassic World Dominion, and I've watched that sequence, I think, after like every season so far, because it felt like necessary after every season. Because the first season gave us the 3 Atrociraptors, right? And I was like, oh, I gotta see, how this ties in. So I watched that directly after season 1. Season 2 gave us Soyona Santos with the Atrociraptor, and I was like, dude, I see how she fits in now. I gotta watch that scene. So I did it again this time, and I'm like, dude, like this is the ultimate like rewatch, because we get these direct ties to the moments. Now I know, like, we were talking about it and you were like, oh, do these things match up exactly? Did you get a chance to go watch that sequence again or no?
I did not.
No. Well, I did. I took my notes.
Scott,
I've got notes.
Your interview was not the only thing I missed, okay?
I actually took notes on Dominion again. Like I like literally sat there and like wrote Dominion notes, and
But Brad, did you watch the extended version?
I did. Yeah, I did. I did. Yeah. So I was like, all right, so Soyona Santos like is driving in the back. It seems like she's in the back seat of like she's a passenger in some black SUV as they're going to like the airfield. So I was like, okay, so there's a sequence here where she leaves, which I didn't sync up. I didn't try to like find out where that happens in the show or anything, but I'm sure there's a moment where like it's possible that she left and went and met up with, whoever brought,
Kayla.
Maisie. Kayla was there, but like she saw it happening from a distance. But like, that whole part where Maisie's
who looks like
bring her in her car.
It isn't Iris. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, she's waiting for Maisie. She's they said like they land yet. There's 2 planes inbound. I guess there was one for Maisie and one for the Beta. And Barry finds Owen just chilling like in the streets, and I'm like, this is probably the moment. We do get that call.
Don't we?
Yeah, we do get that call. I think it was during the moment when Ben was trying to find him. So Ben's like, I can't find Barry. Where is he?
Yeah.
And
I like how we're just.
I think he takes the call.
We've not even touched on the fact that Barry is in this show yet.
There's way too much to discuss this season, dude. There's so much. And we're just jumping all around. But like, I think so he finds Owen and meets with him. Barry does mention in Jurassic World Dominion that Soyona is a broker in the dinosaur trade. So I feel like that probably went over a lot of our heads, like during the time when the broker was mentioned. I think at the end of season 1, so she was mentioned as the broker there. You notice what I noticed here is it's very easy to get into the black market, the underground market in Chaos Theory, but not so easy in Dominion. They have to they tip a guy who's like just posted up at the door, just kind of like with a hood on, like sitting down, and then like the door unlocks and I think he like knocks on the door and it like has all these like mechanisms that unlock and everything, and then they go down. Which actually, the DreamWorks shared a picture of like a tunnel, which I don't remember. I don't remember from the show. I don't remember seeing that exact tunnel.
Tunnels.
Yes, but this was a different tunnel. This was like a doorway, small doorway tunnel, which actually looked like that tunnel from Dominion. from that locked door, because if you look at the door, it's got all these like locks on it. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. So it's much easier to get into the underground market.
I wonder if it's just an additional marketing asset. I do find it funny that they've basically given away how involved Biosyn is in this season by having their logo on all of the promo.
Yeah, it is interesting. I also noticed that like the same tentacle style meat is like on these like burners that's like spinning around. And
no charred locust though.
No, not in the show, but we do see the locusts in Dominion. If anybody was questioning that, they are in cages in Dominion, and there is
charred.
Yeah, and there is one quote.
Quite tasty.
Yeah, there was one quote I wrote down about it would be 50,000 to fly them to Riyadh. I think she mentions that to Rain Delacourt. So and Scott points it out in the conversation I had that like it's like a rights issue that they couldn't do the exact same dialogue. He said he would have loved to, but they're just not able to do that. But it was close enough where like you could question like, oh, did that happen or did we not hear that or something? So it was close enough that it wasn't like a big issue. So and they really catch you at like the tail end of each little segment. So like you do get that tail end of Rain Delacourt meeting Soyuna and like revealing the raptors in there. And that's as soon as like the cash drop is made in the movie, then the guns are pointed, then stuff starts to go awry. And that's when she escapes and you see her, I forget how it plays out in the show now, but you see her escape and then like she goes and does the stuff with Claire and then comes back. And this whole time in this truck is the handler and Brooklyn. And that's like such awesome context that I love stuff like that. I love knowing when I'm watching the movie that, oh, there's two characters right there. I know they're right there. I can't see them. So one little difference is like in the show, there is a gap in the center of the truck where they can kind of like walk through. In the movie, there is no gap. They're kind of just pushed together. So slight difference there. No big deal. But like, I just know that it's up for interpretation, right? Because it's animation. But like, but I like to know that they are right there, the handler and Brooklyn. And Brooklyn has a pretty like awesome move where she like nearly pushes the handler out into the whole like second situation, I think. Or no, this is the first situation before they crash. That was really cool to see. This is where the
CIA are doing this thing, isn't it? And it's like, I just always remember the actor who was hyped up as having a big role in Dominion, and then he's literally like the CIA agent that says, "Stop! You're under arrest," and that's it.
Yeah. Well, I think he's in the Owen scenes, I think earlier, right? Too on the horse, and then he's here, and that's it. And he's like a well-known like actor that does like interesting roles. But yeah, so he, I was like, maybe he's a guy that shows up this season, but he didn't. I didn't see anybody. But that sequence was so cool. And then we get her coming back to the truck crash when. You're right, dude. Like thinking about it on the fly, it's like it's a really fluid sequence in the movie that like jumps all over the place and has a lot of different places to go and come back to that same moment. But when they crash that truck and Soyuna Santos, you see her in the movie. I think that's the moment where she's got her hands above her head and she uses the clicker.
And she's like using the laser behind it to get it onto Owen.
Yeah. And like now watching the movie, I'm like right in that rubble, right behind her. Brooklyn is laying. She's stuck right there. The handler's also knocked out back there. And then in the movie, that's the end of Soyuna Santos. Like that's her final moment is Barry has her pinned down and you're under arrest. Like he's pointing the gun at her and she's caught. She just sends the Raptors to go get Owen. And I think in the show, he's like,
I've got to tell you something really funny about this moment. So they literally do it. So like there's a bit more dialogue and then she says, "Oh, I always plan like a contingency plan or whatever," and detonates one of the Atrociraptor cages so it explodes. And I genuinely was just sat there like, have they just killed Barry?
Yeah, I know. I thought that as well because I'm like, this show would do that kind of. I think they would do something bold like that. But they didn't. He is alive. And I love that, like, it showed us what happened next. You know, she wasn't captured by Barry right in that moment. She did get away, and she used that detonation. And I think even in that moment, Barry's like, "Why didn't you use the Raptors like to sick them on me? Why'd you send them after him? Like you could have had me." And that's when she's like, "Yeah, I always have a contingency or whatever." So I loved seeing more of Sayona Santos and like where she went after that. We see her wandering the streets of Malta. She goes up to that Coliseum, and she eventually does get arrested.
She has,
and
so
it was a great takedown
the whole time as well, which is quite cool because it kind of builds up the sense that this Atrociraptor is like the most loyal one that she's keeping with her. So then when you get that ultimate flip of the handler able to get Red onto her side, it just makes it even more impactful, I think.
And what I loved about it was that's the raptor that she uses to sick on Claire, like in that moment, you know, like, so it made so much more sense to me. I'm like, oh, dude, this is great. Like we're tying it directly to the movie. I never thought of that before, that's the raptor that she uses. And like, so that was really cool to see. And yeah, so I thought everything that tied like directly into this scene was just a ton of fun. Also, as we know in the movie, Ghost gets into the airplane takes off, and then she flies out. She gets knocked out from the motorcycle, and we see the motorcycle and her toppling out into the ocean. And
she rides the motorcycle down the street in this show. It's just great.
I think we made jokes about that before, but like, but I always wondered in the movie, is that it? Like, did she die from that fall? Did she swim out? We see in Fallen Kingdom that dinosaurs can swim perfectly fine, you know? So we, you know, and the first time I watched the season, I was like, how is she here? How is she in the rest of this season? I thought she would have died or something. So I found it interesting that there was no explanation.
Did you not see the moment? Did you not on your first watch through? Okay, that's interesting.
I didn't. I completely missed the shaking off of the water. And so the second time, I literally, like, I was watching the show. I was like, I literally just Leonardo DiCaprio, like, yes, there it is. There's the moment I wanted. Like, I wanted to see that. Like, oh, that's perfect. That's all I needed to describe like what happened. So absolutely perfect.
Just a side note for our audience, but I will pay somebody to Photoshop Brad's face onto that Leonardo DiCaprio meme.
Just me watching.
But it has to be the motion. It has to be the motion. But yeah, I mean, you kind of touched on it, which is in our discussions beforehand. I said that this whole scene felt very fluid, and I think for me, I just need to go away and watch Dominion again to get my head around it. Just because there's so much stuff happening so quickly that it felt like quite. I was saying to you, it's quite a bold decision to choose that to be the convecture point, and to kind of use that as the opportunity for overlap where there is so much going on. But it does seem like they really carefully mapped out exactly how things were unfolding in that sequence to get it to line up. Did you, in your interview with Scott, did you get to touch on that at all, about how they made sure that all correlated?
Yeah, I think we talked about it. I forget what was said, but we definitely. So go listen to that. Go listen to the episode. I'm sure it's out now. But yeah, there was some conversation about that, and there was another moment that did cross over a little bit, and that was the Pyroraptor.
Yes.
And that was another one that I was excited about, like to see how you get the Pyroraptor to that odd place that it is in Dominion.
But also, I think the Pyroraptor was used so smartly in this season.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because I think I've told you recently that I've restarted the book that I was writing. So before I had a book that had a lot of different dinosaurs in it, and now I'm writing a book that just focuses on one dinosaur. And it's really interesting thinking about how you use a single animal as a character. But I think they did such a good job this season with taking the Pyroraptor and making it kind of dropping its feathers as it was running along, a kind of definitive factor that is essentially sort of like foreshadowing for the actual encounters with it. Like it just had such a horror-esque feel to it, with how it was kind of always like, oh, it's been here, there's part of its trail, that I really, really liked. It was sort of making the most about the fact that this is a feathered dinosaur. And I mean, they even say it. They say in the show, I think it's Darius who's like, oh, InGen never made feathered animals. Hinting that it was made by Biosyn, which is very cool.
Well, yeah, actually, the moment I think it was that same moment but he said something about we know all too well that there's other genetic companies out there.
Yes.
And I was like, is this a Biosyn reference or is this or Parker Genetics?
Okay.
I was like,
okay.
is this could this be my rebirth time? Also, I want to shout out that Gia, who's Ben's girlfriend, wants to become a museum curator, and we do see a museum
can we just
in Rebirth.
appreciate? Yes, can we appreciate that Gia and the professor? I wrote down. I was like, are these characters created to Henry Loomis? Like, does he lecture at that university or something? That would be so cool.
Yeah, there was no ties to Rebirth, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking that as well. I'm like thinking, well, she wants to be a museum curator. There who else? Okay, we know that he seemingly works at this museum, and we've got a museum.
Wait.
And
so you didn't see the post-credit scene with the mutant in that little town in Italy?
Oh, I missed it. Was it tiny, like a tiny mutant? Was it like this big? Imagine, dude, if that was the egg. If that was the egg,
oh my God.
dude, in a smoothie. What happened? Talk about smoothie, dude.
Dude, I genuinely cried when Smoothie was revealed. It was just
very
like
sweet.
The cutest moment ever.
Yeah, and I think I alluded to it in our non-spoiler chat was the fact that one of the things I wish I kind of went back on was watching how attached Kenji was to the egg. Because this season, maybe I just forgot, but like it just seemed like he was very attached to this egg. And I don't know. I guess they just wanted to give it a new dad and not necessarily Ben this time around, you know?
Yeah.
And he's obviously Kenji. This has been like a very whirlwind like tour for him. You know, he's been going through a lot of stuff. His dad just died like not that long ago, and he's been going through it. He lost his girlfriend who died but like didn't die, so there's a lot going on in his mind. Yeah. So yeah, but Smoothie was
is
excellent.
Just the cutest thing ever. Yeah. And so this is part of my theory, right? This is the theory I was alluding to earlier, so I'm going to jump around a little bit, but essentially the catalyst for season 4 is the idea that Bumpy's being taken to Biosyn Valley, so they have to go and rescue Bumpy. But obviously, as the audience, we already know that Biosyn Valley actually ends up being a sanctuary by the end of Dominion. So I just have an image in my head, very similar to the end of Dominion, of Bumpy and Smoothie being reunited and then getting left to live in Biosyn Valley. I could easily see that being how that kind of ends.
Yeah, but that means the Ankylosaurus we see at the end of Dominion, I can't think of that as Bumpy anymore. And I'm mad about that because we see the hiker and it looks like I don't know, it could be like a Texas place or something like that. Maybe I forget what the setting looked like, but
that's Smoothie all grown up.
It could, yeah, maybe, because you could just put Smoothie in your pocket and go back home. But in my headcanon, that's always been Bumpy. I don't know. I don't think the
I would just really like to say
but
a public service announcement: TSA does not recommend putting Smoothie in your pocket before you go back home.
Yeah, you can only have a certain amount of liquid when you fly on a plane.
Oh God. Well, is that the time, Brad?
No, we probably, but we have more to discuss. We've got a very cute dinosaur this season, Smoothie, and you're probably more accurate there with thinking that they're gonna live there in Biosyn Valley, and that's gonna be heartbreaking and interesting to see play out. So I want to talk. Let's talk about that later, but what else do we have? We talked about the handlers and Santas. Let's talk about Barry. Let's talk about Barry real quick though, because we didn't mention him. We've talked a lot about characters. Barry, he shows up in the first episode. He's not exactly the Barry that I remember, at least from the movies. He felt slightly different. Now we only get very minimal Barry, right, in the movies. We get probably more Barry here than we get in the movies. So
can I just
maybe
say,
this
I
is the
was
real Barry.
disappointed that we didn't have slight dad bod Barry in the season. I think that was a mission.
Yeah, I found it interesting.
I didn't feel
His shirt
seen
was
this
different.
season.
No, you
Yeah.
didn't feel seen? Yeah, me neither. But hey, at least there was a guy wearing a hat and glasses and a beard. So I was kind of seen. Davi. But yeah, so I just thought his characterization was not as spot on as like Dodgson or Sayona Santos or anything like that. So but it was still cool. I thought it was really cool to see Barry.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it. Like, I don't know why. In my mind, I guess I was going more towards Kayla Watts, and to have Barry show up was a nice surprise, because we had heard about that book that was going to come out or whatever, tied into the season, and it talked about a mysterious character that's going to be hauling them in a cargo plane, and I was like, I never considered Barry. I don't think. Maybe I did, but I don't remember considering that. But
cargo plane, who owns one? Kayla Watts. It's just a natural connection to make, isn't it?
Well, it said like he, so I was like, it can't be Kayla, I guess. But but having Barry there, he was very mysterious, and I found that interesting. Like, I don't know, like there was no dialogue. I was like, Barry's just being mysterious for mysterious sake. Like, he wasn't like, sometimes when you watch a movie, you're like, just do the thing, just talk. Say words, like, don't be so mysterious. So that's kind of my thoughts with Barry this season. There was a lot of moments like that where he's like, yeah, maybe I will arrest you. You're like,
yeah, I could kind of see it that he's not sure what the kids' allegiances are, so he's trying to figure it out. But it was a little ham-fisted in its execution, I'd say. I think that the thing I found interesting was the fact that you know me well enough at this point to know that it's these weird little details that I pick up on. But I found it interesting that it was only the French intelligence agency that he was working with the whole time, and there was no reference to the Dangerous Species Division from the CIA, because in the Malta sequence in Dominion, it is presented as like a CIA operation that Barry has been brought in on. So I found that interesting, and with the French intelligence being in Italy as well, I find the whole question of dino acquisitions and response to dino incidents still very interesting, because what the hell is the jurisdiction where at this point? Like, who is responding to what? Why is the French intelligence responding to an incident in Italy? It's just,
I think about
that
in like any
question
movie.
mark.
Yeah. I'm thinking about that all the time in like every movie. I'm like, why are you the person responding to this situation? But yeah, I was.
They do explain it a little bit, I think, as an ongoing investigation into Soyana Santos. But I always got the feeling that was a DSD investigation as opposed to French intelligence.
I don't know if the audio would come through, but I was like, can I bring up that conversation? Where did that even happen in the movie?
It's with Franklin, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just trying to scrub through to see where it. Oh, here it is. Okay. Let's see. Turn on this block. Let me turn on.
That's
it. Hear it?
Name's Rain Delacourt. Real piece of work. What do you take?
Something we care about very much.
Oh, shit.
I
told you somebody would come looking for her. You can't just take a person, Claire.
I had no choice.
Not in the eyes of the law.
This guy is not the law. Tell us how to find him.
All right, let's find him. How we find him?
Where'd you guys call me from?
As Ben knows,
we have a man on the inside of
always track even if it's
Malta
off.
Sometime tomorrow, cash for cargo.
Is she with him?
There's no mention, but we have people on the ground already. One of them, a lot of us got recruited by the CIA after the park went down.
So, pause it for a second. So he's scrubbing through the iPad, right?
Yeah.
And it has what's Lowry? It has Vivian. Their headline says CIA.
I can hear myself now, Pratt.
Oh yeah. Sorry. I got to go back to the phone. I had to switch
Nobody
microphones.
needs to hear that.
So he's scrubbing through, and it says Vivian CIA, Lowry CIA, but his says French intelligence. So yeah, let me actually I'll go back to the other microphone just for a second. So don't talk.
Barry's French intelligence now.
I need to talk to him.
You can't just call him. He's deep cover.
Look, once we make the bus to Malta, our guys will see if Delacour knows where she is. Our guys. Not you.
I think that's pretty clear right there, guys. So that's like, I don't know, but our guys, I guess, could be our CIA and French intelligence.
It seems like they're working together, but it's interesting how in the show all of the CIA agents are basically nowhere to be seen.
But I mean, are we to assume that those other guys that come into that Coliseum-like place, like, are they French intelligence? Do we know that for sure?
I feel like they speak French.
I don't know. Why would they speak French in that moment?
I feel like there is something they say.
Maybe. Well, we'll never know. But but at least we got down to the bottom, because I know you know
if you go and rewatch Chaos Theory season 3, episode 10 on Netflix, releasing March 31st. Is it? Yeah. It's not releasing March 31st, is it? That's when our content's out.
That's our content's out. Yeah, it's already past that date. So yeah, don't worry about it. Just go watch the show. I'll bring it up on my phone maybe and just see if I could get to that point when you're talking. But all right. So you mentioned you had something you wanted to talk about. What do you remember what that was?
Yeah. So you touched on Soyana and the handler. And I think we spoke about them separately, but what we didn't really touch on was the tension in their relationship throughout the season. And I just think that's handled really cool. That was a really weird way of me phrasing that. That's handled really well in the way that it kind of shows us that Soyana is just planning on throwing away the Atrociraptors. She's going to sell them. So she is the person who puts them up for sale from Rain. And she doesn't really care about them, whereas the handler does. And it's interesting because the handler is doing work for Dodgson without Soyana's approval at points as well. So there's kind of this weird triangle where they're all working for and equally against each other. And it just gives you a really clear sense for how self-motivated all of these characters are.
Yeah, I wasn't listening to you. I'm looking through Netflix. But I thought the dynamics were interesting just because I didn't know who was allegiance to who, who was running the show here. And there was an interesting scene though where the handler, I think it was, I don't remember the exact moment. It might have been after she was maybe trying to intimidate Brooklyn. And Soyana Santos steps in and says, stop, if you ever touch her or, lay a hand on her, I'll kill you or something. And then Dodgson, let me see if I can bring up that quote. It wasn't juicy or anything, but I don't even know.
You only get the juiciest quotes from the Jurassic Park podcast.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but Dodgson had Dodgson says, no, that's not the part. Never mind. Oh, he says, patience, just patience. They'll be yours. Yeah. It must be a different moment. I think this is the handler. She was intimidating Brooklyn. She's, she says you should be using the laser.
It's once she's walked off that Dodgson then steps in and says that.
Soyana says she does mention the other use that the lasers have. So she did allude to another thing, that there's other uses, and I think she used it to blow up the crate, right? And she also used it to call the Carnotaurs. So there's other uses. Yeah. She alluded to it early, but he had mentioned he whispers into the handler's ears, patience, just patience, they'll be yours. Talking about.
Can we get that Dodgson impression one more time?
It was an impression. It was just me talking.
Just one more time.
No.
So should we? I mean, there's another character to touch on who's Darby, And Darby
yeah.
is a really interesting one because Darby is presented as somebody who knows who Brooklyn is. So he recognizes her at the multi-black market. And he is a self-confessed Brooklander, which was quite funny to see that kind of coming into reality.
Hold on a second. I got the moment here. I just want to hear. I'm just going to hold it up because I'm on my phone. That sounds French to me.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay.
I was sat here like, if I've made this up, I'm about to get cancelled. So I am so glad it was there.
I mean, I'm assuming that's French. I don't know. Maybe it's Latin because that's the title episode. But yeah. So Davi is I actually really like that character. So he's a
self-confessed Brooklander. And he's a cool character. It's an interesting meta reference actually to influencer culture as well, and the idea of being recognized in like a moment where you don't really want to be recognized, which was quite comical. But the thing I really like about him is the thing I alluded to in our non-spoiler review, which is that Darby is the vessel for providing this insight into how far Brooklyn has fallen. So he basically serves to communicate this idea of how far do you go when you're pursuing a story, and actually does the ends justify the means. So in this case, if Brooklyn's aiding Soyana in doing bad things, if people are getting killed because of the things she is a part of, even though she's not the person directly killing them, is she not just as culpable? And there's a really interesting moment where you see Brooklyn kind of lose her temper and raise the laser at Darby, and then she kind of realizes what she does and is mortified by it. But I think it's a really interesting commentary on that world, which is when you try to stop something that's wrong or evil, how do you do it without also becoming sullied by the very thing you're trying to stop?
Yeah, I think it was a really interesting point, and I never doubt that she's still a good person, and that she's like, even at the point where she's holding the laser at, she's pointing it at Yaz, and Darius is there as well. I never ever thought for 1 second that she would, turn the green one on and sick the raptors on her, or the whatever. But
I love the way you phrase that, of sick the raptors on her.
Wow, that's what you would say.
I've heard it said like that before.
It's like, like if you've got like a dog and you're like, sick him, like in the, that's it. That means go get him,
Genuinely have not heard that before this call.
Oh, come over here. I'll introduce you to other phrases that we have, but the one moment where, that does get like pushed to its limits is when she's like holding his hand in the, in the cage, and like, the Lysosaurus is like very close to biting his hand off.
Yeah.
Was it the Lysosaurus? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so which is interesting dynamic too, because of her situation. She knows very closely what that means to lose that limb, and then to put somebody in that situation is pretty dark. That's definitely a very dark situation. But I still never think that she's going to go there. But you're right, she's using those tactics, and how far is too far, and she's said it multiple times that she's not the same person that she ever was. She's different. She even says it at the very end of the season. Like, she's like, I don't need them in my life, but I want them. So it was like a very nice thing. Like, she is different. She's not the same person. So she's gonna be fun to watch, I think, in this season. And thank God we get not the entire Camp Fam just yet, but
no,
I'm sure it's in the cards.
There's an important detail we need to talk about, Brad, which is 2 of the Camp Fam who were in a relationship are no longer in a relationship.
I'm so bummed, man. Oh, that was heartbreaking. So yeah, we alluded to it, I think, in our spoiler free, but like, there's a lot of relationship issues, and like a lot of people are struggling, like, just normally to deal with, is Brooklyn good? Is Brooklyn bad? Should we be helping her? Should we not be helping her? And that really hits even farther with Yaz and Sammy. And like, and it's even deeper than that, because it's a lot about family and like you should do anything for family. We got to be there for family. That's like Yaz's like ongoing, thing that she's doing, and she's like, we got to be there for her, like whether she says so or not. And then Sammy's like, well, what about me? Like, what happened when I needed you? Like, it's a very like real situation, and you could see that playing out like in real life in that way. And I sympathized with it because like you get where Yaz is coming from about wanting to help people, but you also get why she maybe wanted to distance herself a little bit, like, and be her own person for a little bit. So it's really tough to kind of grapple with that because I love these two characters together. I'm rooting for them all the time. But to see them break up in this, it was hard. And Darius is like, you two broke up? And like, everybody's like, shut up, Darius. Stop. We're not going to bring this up right now.
My dude's social skills were not there.
But they like literally, break up and then they go their separate ways and go on different missions. Like there was a lot of characters that like, it's like, how do you, and we have to deal with that a lot in our days today. It's like, how do you deal with somebody who has very different thoughts on what these people are or what's going on? And that's what they had to kind of grapple with this season, was like, they all had very different thoughts on this situation and whether or not they should help them. And they were all genuine thoughts. Like you can kind of understand like where they're coming from. But yeah,
I thought it was really interesting because it's something that I think is so fundamental to human relationships, which is actually how much are you willing to sacrifice in a relationship? Because not just a relationship in the sense of a romantic relationship, but like a friendship, it's always give or take. And there is always that like point of no return where you're like, actually, is this at the point where I'm putting all the effort in here, and what do I do at that point? So I thought it was a really interesting reflection on something that a lot of us grapple with sort of every day of our lives, really.
Yeah, for sure. And it was real. That's what they were going for. That's what Scott said. He just wanted it to be like a real, confrontation and real problems that they deal with. So, and it stinks because like this show has like really made some huge strides, and done some awesome stuff with their relationship. And it's just awesome to have them together, the representation of the two of them being together. To see them break up just really hurt. But one person, what?
I was going to say, on a brighter note, there is a returning character that is incredibly exciting. And that is, of course, Leonard. How happy were you to see Leonard or Leonard, the Lystrosaurus, back? And not just back, but killing another Lystrosaurus.
Yeah, dude, that dude is he's seen some stuff. You can see his eyebrows are all like just like gray and wired, and he means business when he's in that ring. But yeah, I was happy to see that dude. I was like, Leonard, dude, or Leonard, or whatever.
Well, yes, I got you to say Leonard.
But no, I was going to talk about Ben because I think Ben took over. You want to talk about taking over? He was awesome this season. I feel like this season was Ben's season. Like it was
Gina
like
is real, right? That's the biggest takeaway.
Real person. He's got a real girlfriend.
Yeah.
He's like a very manly man now. He's like working out. He's doing pull-ups, which I was like, man, this guy is killing it, dude. So Ben was taking over with every situation. He was like taking the lead. He's making the plans. So I thought that was just awesome to watch, like his turnaround since, the first season of Camp Cretaceous.
Just wait for the reveal when we find out that Ben is actually part of the rescue team to sightsee. Like he's behind Zora. You know when Atwater is loading that gun, maybe Ben's the guy behind him.
Maybe. Maybe he is. He might be. But no,
I
dude,
just
let me
want
tell
to
you,
hear somebody on an island shouting Pinkus.
I wasn't looking hard enough, but I want to do that with like the Malta sequence. I'm like, is there anybody with blue hair in this sequence? Like, I want to see like, I just want to like find these characters in these situations. Did you say it, or somebody? Maybe Steven had said it. Did like Brooklyn bump into Kayla Watts at some point because like there was somebody
I
that
don't
looked like
think
it had
so.
a similar jacket. I didn't necessarily see it, but I could have missed it. But yeah, I don't know. I love it when you get these little crossovers.
Yeah.
Not that we'll ever see Ben in Rebirth, but like, dude, that would be so
You
cool.
never know.
I've wanted
You
them.
never know.
I've wanted them to do that, dude. That's what we should be doing instead of. And I'm sure Rebirth is going to be excellent, but
Yeah.
that's the trajectory I want. Is these characters in live action with the main characters? Like that's where I want them to go.
Instead, we're probably gonna get shirtless Ian Malcolm again.
I mean, it's not.
You're like, I'd be okay with that.
That's still okay, dude. Like I'm good with that. What else we have to talk about? We talked about let's talk about Gia and Nona. They were awesome characters added to the season. I really liked their vibes and getting Nona.
I like how Nona
barely speaking English. She was just like speaking Italian the entire time. And I was talking I was talking to myself, I'll just say, about this. And I was like, I don't understand what they're saying. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I don't understand what they're saying. And I think that's because you're supposed to be put in the position of the kids in this season. And I call them kids because they're still kids to me because they're young. But
when you're talking, I just need to dive into this for a minute. When you're talking to yourself, is one voice like your normal voice and is the other the Owen Grady voice or the Mr. DNA voice?
No, one's like, what do you, why, how come I can't understand what she's saying? And I'm like, it's because she's speaking Italian. But like, why are there no subtitles? And I'm like, because like you're supposed to be put in that situation where you don't understand. Like the kids in the show don't understand what she's saying. And if you're Italian, I guess but like I'm not, and I don't know what she's saying. But you get the idea, right? Like you can kind of get the full idea of what she's saying throughout all the sequences. And but I thought that was really cool. So great characters and an interesting character just because she's like vehemently against dinosaurs. But Gia is like wanting to be a paleontologist, museum curator. And she's like, Nona's like, no, I want to rid the planet of dinosaurs. She's
well, I mean, again,
horrific.
to what I was saying on our non-spoiler review, it is giving layers of depth to the idea of the relationship with dinosaurs in this world, and the idea that actually there's going to be characters like our characters who can deal with them fine, who know what they are. There's going to be people like Nona who do not care for these things at all and want nothing to do with them. And I think that gives a very good flavour for the dynamic range of sort of reactions that you'd have from different people.
Yeah, this show gives hope that if you have a family member who thinks something wildly different than you and is maybe not a great person in a lot of regards, and you're wondering, can I help them realize that they're going down the wrong path? Maybe you can help out. I don't know. So maybe don't write them off completely. I don't know. But maybe you can. Maybe just get rid of them. I don't know.
Just don't share classified secrets with them.
Yeah, don't do that. Definitely don't add them to group chats. But Nona sees the light here, and she, what makes her come around is the relationship between Smoothie and Kenji, and she's like, you need him as much as he needs you, or whatever. So it was like, a very
this
sweet
relationship
moment.
is smooth.
It's smooth, yeah. But I don't know. I wanted to mention this before. I didn't get a chance to talk about it, but the Pyroraptor. What were your thoughts on the whole snow business? Diving into the snow.
It was interesting. I mean, the one thing I would say is snow is a very different consistency to water.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I was trying to imagine it swimming through the snow in the same way that it did in the water. But you can suspend your disbelief, I guess, for a little bit. It's okay. That was maybe the most wild thing that you have to kind of look past, but it was still fine. Like I'm not like, but I'm sure some people will probably look at it that way. But it was interesting.
Mr. Jost, there is an important thing to discuss, which is this season ends with Darius, Brooklyn, and Yaz. I had to remember which one it was then for a second.
Yeah.
Wait, Darius, Brooklyn, Yaz, and Ben.
Oh, and Ben,
Ben, yeah.
Ben, right?
Yeah. Getting into
Yeah.
the helicopter to go to Biosyn Valley. So season 4, Biosyn Valley. My question is, we're seeing Lewis Dodgson. I think that's pretty much, we know that's going to happen at this point. Could we see Ramsey Cole? Could we see Kayla Watts? Could we see Dr. Henry Wu once more?
Dude, I think that could be possible, dude. Like seeing Dr. Wu. And the fact that we got Barry, Dodgson, Soyona, is that it? Just three characters from the movies this season? That's wild. That's awesome that we got 3 characters from the movies. So to go into next season, no more Soyona Santos on the table. I think she's probably out of the picture completely. She is arrested.
Unless she breaks out of prison.
I mean, I guess, but I don't think so. She's got another secret one that she can hit, like it's embedded under her hand or something, and she can call, the I don't know, something. Quetzalcoatlus.
The Allosaurus. Quetzalcoatlus. There we go.
Yeah. She's out. She's like working out in the yard at the prison, and then just like a Ketz just flies in and just takes her out of there.
I've got it. This season 4 is going to be like season 4 of Camp Cretaceous. We're going to think they're going to one place, but they end up somewhere else. So we're going to think they're flying to Biosyn Valley, and the automatic drone is going to like glitch out and fly them to Site C instead.
Well, interesting. No, I don't know if that's going to happen, but since you mentioned that, the fact that we do have the aerial deterrent gets turned off a few times or whatever, I think during the movie, that's going to impact them here.
Yeah.
Most certainly, I would think. So that's going to be kind of interesting to see what happens with that helicopter.
Yeah.
But I hope that's where they go. I hope that's where they go, because you're right. They very well could go somewhere different, but I do want to see them all together.
This is a weird question, right? But do we already know that they have to get there? Because that Eurocopter is a bespoke design that they made for Dominion. So there's only one of them. So I think I said this to you when we did some speculation. They could easily say that actually Biosyn has a fleet of this type of helicopter, but we only ever see the one helicopter in the film, and we know that it's landed in the control room adjacent to the main part of Biosyn Valley. So if it is the only helicopter that exists, then we already know that the kids will literally be in the complex that our other main characters are in.
Yeah. I mean, but Kayla flies it too. So it does.
She does.
Are there drone versions, and then there's also piloted versions, or are they the same? Can you just take remote
control? I think it's
and
the same.
Take it away?
I think it's like the helicopter that Stark uses in Civil War.
I don't remember. I gotta watch. That's on my
when
rewatch
he comes
soon.
Out of the raft and he flies out of the back of the helicopter. Okay.
I don't remember.
I mean, I did literally rewatch it last week.
We are almost there in a rewatch with my son. But yeah, that'll be so great to see the handoff, right? Like we won't see the handoff directly, but we do know that they potentially fly this helicopter in. Yeah. Kayla takes it to take everybody out. Again,
maybe there's a moment
kids.
where the kids land and they're like, "You need this more than we do." And then they heroically give it to Kayla, and Kayla's like, "Okay, I won't tell anyone else you're here." And then that's
that does bring up the interesting point though. If Kayla takes it, are the kids yet again trapped on an island, essentially, by themselves? This feels very familiar.
Oh my god! And what's gonna happen in the chaos? Cash is going to return.
He might. I think so. I think he's going to be back. He's going to bring his remote controls because, as we know, the remote control, was kind of utilized in Dominion as the calling mechanism to bring them all back to.
It's all coming full circle. We're going to see Biosyn Valley taken over by Brads.
Dude, I'm there. Let's make it happen. But no, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see them. So Sammy and Kenji have to descend onto the place somehow.
Yeah.
And I think look,
we
I
see
had
them at the very end, don't we? They're like stood
yeah.
at the top of the valley.
Yeah, they're gonna have to make their way through. We're obviously gonna get like Therizinosaurus. Like there's gonna be an awesome sequence, I'm sure, with that. The Giga, is gonna show up, I'm sure, here. Maybe we'll see Rexy again, dude. Like we have not gotten any Rexy.
I want to
in this
see the
season.
Dimetrodons again.
Yeah, I hope like I want there to be new sequences, but like I also do want to see all of these like revisited moments.
Yeah.
Dilophosaurus, like who's gonna choke out the Dilophosaurus this time?
They just find a Dilophosaurus with a crushed neck, and they're like, "What the hell happened here? That can't have been a person."
Yeah, but like, and I've found it interesting that we've never gotten like the crossover of Owen and Claire. They did mention them a bunch of times this season. They mentioned them. Was there somebody else they mentioned? Oh, Rain Delacourt was mentioned.
Yeah.
But like we've never gotten them. Maybe if this is final season or something like that, which I could definitely see season 4 being final season. Maybe this is our final moment to get Owen and Claire, and maybe they do everybody. Imagine if they did.
I was literally
everybody.
about to say to you, well, at that point, aren't they just going to do Grant, Sattler, and Malcolm as well?
Dude, please, Maisie, Dr. Wu, Beta, get everybody there. Like that would be so sick to see that.
I've got this image in my head of just an unconscious Beta being carried around with them all season.
Yeah, like. Dude, that would be so funny. Who's that guy with a dinosaur on his back? And it's like, I think that was Owen Grady. What's he doing here? Like, you could definitely see those kind of moments play out. But I had mentioned it, I think, in our trailer conversation, like that I wanted to see the plane crash happen.
Yes, that would be cool.
I still think it's possible. It's still possible.
Even if it's just like on the distance, like as Sammy and Kenji are making their way down one side of the valley, they look across and just see it going down.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the Quetzalcoatl Atlas flies in their direction.
Yeah. Or they have to encounter the which they've had plenty of encounters with the Pyroraptor again. Maybe they could do it again because, watching that scene again the other day, I was like, man, this thing is so underutilized in the movie. And then that's it. We just go down into the tunnel and that's the end of it.
So I tell you what I want to see. I think so we know we're getting Biosyn Valley. I think we need once and for all like clarification on whether Big E.T. is one of the Sauna Rexes. And if she is, we need to see her brought to Biosyn Valley for that closing shot of Dominion with the 3 Rexes.
Yeah, I would absolutely love that. Yeah, for sure. And there
like
is that
even
Lego
recreate that shot and do it better than the actual film by making the Rexes the right color.
Well, Barry's shirt was the wrong color this season, so I'm not sure if that's going to happen. But that's how.
I mean, so was the
detail-oriented
Mattel figure. So
yeah, but also that Lego set of Little Edie. I should have asked Scott about that. Like, what are his thoughts on that? What's up with that Lego set, man? Like, do you have any thoughts on that? Like, was it Little Edie, I think, or was it Big Edie? It was Little Edie, right?
Yeah.
What is Little Edie going to show up in this season? Like, is that why we've got a Lego set? Like, what the heck is the deal with that?
I've got to break something to you, but between the events of Fallen Kingdom and Dominion, Roberta actually died. And it's actually Little E.T. grown up who is the T-Rex in Dominion. That's why she suddenly has the original Rex color scheme in the Lego set.
That's fine. I don't care who Roberta is. We have Rexy, so that we don't have to worry about Roberta.
Oh no, Rexy's dead. Rexy's dead.
No.
It's Little E.T. If you need further evidence, I point to Exhibit A, Rexy's skeleton in the New York Natural History Museum, Jurassic World Rebirth.
I can't wait until Gia shows up and says, "This is the T-Rex from the original park."
Yeah.
But no.
And this is the Spinosaurus from Isla Sorna.
The bones were recovered on Nublar's Main Street. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know, man. I hope we get more Atrociraptors, because they made that little mention there. Dude, we saw real regular raptors this season.
Yes.
Which was great. So
2 of them.
I'm sure one kind of looked more like Nublar ish, but the other one kind of reminded me of like just what we saw in Camp Cretaceous. So
I'm gonna be brutally honest with you. They
Yeah.
both looked exactly the same to me, which was
Did
the
they?
default like green raptor asset. Yeah.
Yeah, it happened so fast. The shot or that I remember, but I feel like one of them looked like slightly lighter colored than the other one was more of a darker green with like the yellow eyes or whatever, or orange eyes
I
or
love
something.
that they've done this. They've done this throughout both Camp Cretaceous and Chaos Theory. Is just sprinkle in other InGen raptors, so we're like, what the hell are these? But then it kind of never gets answered.
Yeah, I know. Live Tour is like, here's a bunch of raptors
Yeah.
that you never see.
I mean, in theory, they could be the MMS facility raptors.
What's that?
From the Jurassic World Aftermath.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Forgot. Well, yeah. I don't know. There's so many. Now we want is raptors, and they're literally out there everywhere, but we can never get them. Like,
oh wait, Brad, are we wrong? Oh, is our perception just that it was two raptors? Was it actually one raptor with two heads?
That's fair point. Maybe that was the third rebirth tie. Could have been. Anything else we could see happen in season 4?
I tell you what, I would
obviously
absolutely
locust,
love
burning forest stuff.
Yeah,
but
I tell you what, I would absolutely love is at the end, like let's say the end of season 4 is the start of the Biosyn Valley cleanup. I think if you want to end it by connecting to Rebirth, just have Martin Krebs turn up. Like, have Martin Krebs turn up and just be like, hey, I'm from another biogenetics company. I'm here to help with this cleanup, and just end on that. That would be so perfect.
Dude, so terrible of whatever government that's just like, yeah, let's just have this other pharmaceutical company come in here, or whatever, biogenetics, whatever. Let's just get them in here. Like, one just fell, two just fell. Let's have a third come in.
I mean, third time's the charm, Brad. Third time's the charm.
So that would be great, though, if somebody like him did show up. I mean, the opportunity's there to just throw a character in like that, but, probably won't happen. But it should be after Rebirth, when we get a chance to watch this. Maybe, I don't know, September or something like that, But yeah, and that was my question, too, is the sequence is very quick. Like, we're not in Biosyn Valley very long, the matter of like a day or so at the most. And and this is already taking place. Like, we're already into that day. So like you've made a point that, like, I think you said you heard it last season, that like it doesn't go past Dominion necessarily. Yes. I don't know. I haven't confirmed, but like if it doesn't go past Dominion, that's like no time at all to do 10 episodes. So, it's gonna be like an episode of 24, but like it's just gonna be called 10, and it's just gonna be 10 straight hours or half hours, or no, I guess it would just be called 5.
Oh my god,
I don't know, but yeah. So I don't know how that's gonna play out, the timeline of it all, but plenty more opportunity to cross over with the movies. And
so on that crossover, I do just want to talk about a funny reaction that I had to you when I first got to the end of the season, which was basically this whole time you and I have had like a fun back and forth where I've been like, oh, it doesn't break the story I've outlined in Tales yet. We're fine. They can still coexist. And then at the end of this season, I was like, Brad, it's literally going to the exact moment that Tales ends at. What am I going to do? It's all coinciding. How has this happened? And I was just freaking out.
Yeah, you're just creating an adjacent story that, it's
somehow
its own thing.
Has
it's
got
nice.
Woven into this.
Yeah. Who let's check your notes. Who wrote it first? You or the Camp Cretaceous or Chaos Theory writers? I don't know. Did you share it on a group chat by mistake? What did you do? Did you leak your notes?
That was the message I sent to Scott. My bad.
Yeah. But let's see. Anything else that we can talk about here?
I mean, we've covered all of my notes.
You've covered everything you got. The locusts,
Yeah.
we mentioned the locusts were in the season a little bit, and that was nice to see. There was no furthering of that story per se. Like, they didn't necessarily like give you any more background. There was one comment from Dodgson about like, oh, you know about the thing in the I forget what he said, but the man, I don't remember what the quote was, but it was something about like the food source and all that. And so it was obviously he was referring to the locusts, but he kind of, it was one of those like where he trailed off and just like kind of stopped talking because that's not what whoever was talking to him about.
Ben isn't the only person who likes snacking on those disgusting bars. Dodgson does as well.
Yeah. Oh wait, I just saw that quote. He said, he was talking, I guess maybe it was about, I don't know if it was to Soyana Santos or whoever it was to, but he says, do you know about the flying and the food supply? And that was the only thing he mentioned. So, you know, he was talking about the flying bugs, I guess, and the food supply. You know, so they were talking about that, but that's not what they were talking about exactly. So there was no like furthering that backstory at all, like kind of legitimizing it. Because I know it's a concept that a lot of people struggle with the movie. So hopefully the show can give some extra backstory to that or something that can, you know, make it cool. But yeah, so that was another thing that was added into the show, and I appreciate it. It was a cool visual.
It was cool, and it also suggests we might get more hexapod allies next season, which could be quite cool to see.
Yeah, we can get the whole tunnel
We're
system.
Gonna find out that like when Dodgson burns the room with the locust, the kids were actually in that room and they like really quickly hid under the floorboards to avoid getting burnt.
Oh my gosh, dude. Horrifying. Yeah, don't do that. I don't know. I don't know like what the ties could be, but yeah, I imagine there's going to be like you're going to be walking kind of near the same laboratories and different things.
I need to look at the camera for a second.
Okay, what do you got?
Scott, do not touch the Moros Intrepidus that is in the lab in the glass cage. Please do not touch that. And the Therizinosaurus, please do not explain how it gets into the courtyard. Okay?
Hey Scott, I got a message for you. Please do all those things. I want to see all those things too. Wait, well, what's your problem? What's your problem with how it gets into the courtyard? They called all the dinosaurs. All the dinosaurs are in the courtyard. That's where they all have to go.
No. So
explain your story.
So the entire inspiration for the whole of Tales from a Jurassic World was, you know how
just to explain that moment,
the Rex and the Giga are fighting, and then the Therizinosaurus just appears.
Yeah.
I was like, what if I explain how that just appears?
Let's do it, man. I can't wait to hear. In both Tales and Chaos Theories season 4. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it because like I love the end of that movie. I do like that fight scene. I like the storm that's occurring with the lightning, and I like the fire, you know, across the valley. Like it's gonna be interesting to see it all play out. And if there is anything post, you know, I guess when you say they're not going post Dominion, because like, you know, Dominion does stretch out a little ways. We get to see a few post like scenes, you know, after the actual Biosyn Valley.
Yeah.
See, the courtroom. Yeah. There could be a little bit extra. And we did get a little bit extra after season 5. What is so funny? I don't know if I want to ask, but.
No, I genuinely can't say it, but I actually, I would bet money, and I'll tell you what it is after this show. I would bet money that this season is going to end exactly the way that I've written Tales to end, because it just makes so much sense with these characters. I actually think it's going to happen.
Stop writing things that I want to talk about, man. Come on, give me some room, some wiggle room here.
I'm low key like, oh no. It makes so much sense as well.
I'm gonna have to find a new co-host to that's not writing a tangential like season that's going directly with this season. Maybe Aaron will come and talk about it. I don't know. He's never watched it, I don't think. But
I hear the animated shows are his favorite media.
Definitely his favorite, yeah. But man, I'm excited to see where it goes. Yeah, that's my favorite personally.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a fun ride. And jokes aside, I'm really excited to see how they wrap it all up.
Yeah, man, I can't wait to see. I think this was an excellent season. There's probably more that we're kind of glossing over, but I do think we covered a lot. It's maybe one of our longer, like, yeah. So.
What can I say? I just enjoy hanging out with you, Brad.
It is nice, It's nice that when we get this opportunity.
And
I
Scott,
do look forward to it.
When season 4 is done, we need you to come up with a third show so we can continue to do this. So no pressure, but that's firmly on you.
If you need anybody to write it, Tom, he's also gonna be writing Tales, another season. So he's gonna switch it up. He's gonna write something that's exactly what you've got planned as well. So why don't you just use him? I'll do a voice or something, whatever you got. That's fine. You can model my face like a robot or something. It's fine. Yeah. Oh, actually, I'll be, because he did mention like that the lasers in the arm that Brooklyn gets in 10 years time, that'll have lasers that shoot out of it. Did you remember Dodgson mentioned that? So there's gonna be more robots coming, I think, in series 3, whatever series 3 is. But yeah, anyway, thank you everybody for watching and for listening. We're ridiculous here. We don't care, but we had a fun time talking about this. And I do you joked, but I do look forward to these conversations that we get to have every season and talking spoiler free, talking spoilers, talking trailers, whatever happens. Like, I enjoy it. And I hope everybody checks out the interview with Scott. Scott's awesome. And he's
I'm actually
showrunner that creates all this stuff.
Yeah, I am genuinely gutted that I missed that interview, because the last time we did that with him, when I came off of that interview, I just felt so energized. Like, you can just tell that he's genuinely very passionate about writing this series, and I don't think you always get that with people working on shows, so it's really nice to see how genuinely invested Scott is in this.
Yeah, so
Scott, if you're watching, I hope that made up for me not being there.
I don't know, man. You got to watch the rest of the conversation that I had with him. He was not happy with you. So. But please, Tom, can anybody find you on the webs? Like, are you working on anything that you maybe haven't mentioned at all this episode? Like, what's going on?
So you can find me at Tom_Jurassic, and I am not currently working on any projects.
You've got nothing to promote or nothing at all, huh? Just find you online. Okay.
I mean, check out Jurassic Collectibles. There's plenty of content coming out there. I think that's really the only thing I'm working on at the moment.
Okay. All right. If that's how it's going to be, fine. All right. So thanks, everybody. Go find us on Blue Sky and on YouTube. And if you might be watching this on YouTube, who knows? Find us on, I was going to say Letterboxd, but you can find me on Letterboxd. I forgot that's my usual live stream spiel.
You can also find Brad Letterboxd at...
It's just search for my name. It's just Brad Jokes. Same thing with Blue Sky. But go to JurassicParkPodcast.com. You can find all of our episodes there and everything else. Tom's got some articles and different things over the course of time, so go check those out. The newsletter, I've got a newsletter that you can sign up for, JurassicParkPodcast.com/newsletter. We do live streams every Wednesday night, so not Tom, just me. Sometimes there's guests, but Tom, if you want to join at like 2 a.m., you're more than welcome to.
Nice.
But yeah, thank you so much, everybody. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. And be sure to check out the interview with Scott. And as always, stay safe and enjoy.